Hi. Well, there you go. Good morning, welcome to Tollesbury, where I am today. I've come here at low tide for a very good reason. I want to talk to you today, and this week's video is about why you should use a drone for landscape photography. So if you're the sort of person like me who've said to their partner, you know what, I really need a drone, and your partner has gone, there's no way you're having a drone, you're going to crash it, you're going to lose it, you're going to break it, it's going to disappear into the sky, you're never going to see it again. And maybe you're feeling the same. It's a lot of money, is it worth it? This week's video is to say, yes, it is worth it, and there's several different reasons. So let's first of all have a look at my two drones. So I currently own two drones. I've got both by DJI. I've got the Mini 2 and the Mavic Pro 2. Why 2? Well, there are rules around drone usage, and you should know them if you're going to fly. Just to let you know before we start that I have done an intensive online course. I had to go to do an examination, and then I had to have a flight test, all to get my something called a PFCO, which allowed me to, at that point, to sell photographs that I'd taken with drones professionally or commercially. I've also got night permissions. Now, the regulations have changed a little bit, and you may live in a different country. So what I'm going to talk about today is regulations for, actually I'm not going to talk much about the regulations, but what we're going to talk about is from my perspective as a UK landscape photographer, we are under the control of the CAA, the Civil Aviation Authority. So let's get the regulations out of the way to start with. When you buy a drone, you have to do a very quick test. And it just basically goes through the basics with you. It's impossible to fail it because the answers are there, and you can retake it as many times as you like, just to show you the regulations. So I'll put down on the screen here the regulations in picture form, which are on the CAA website. I'll leave a link down in the description for you to have a look, because regulations change, and I don't know when you're going to watch this video. But basically, the regulations say, don't be silly. The most important ones, as far as I'm concerned, are you mustn't go higher than 120 meters, 400 feet, because after that you're in airspace. Bear in mind that helicopters can fly literally just feet above the ground, so you have to have your wits about you. You also mustn't have your drone, or you must keep your drone within line of sight. I think that's about 400-500 meters. You should also be aware of anybody around. So the reason I've got two drones, this is the better drone. This flies in stronger winds, and they all fly in quite strong winds, you'll be surprised. None of them fly in rain or snow, okay, so you shouldn't do that. But this is the stronger drone. This has got the better camera. This has got the better features on it. So I use this most of the time. Now, the only time I will use the Mini 2 is when I'm flying around people. Now, regulations that I've just shown you are for a drone that's higher, that's heavier than 250 grams, which this one is. You should be 50 meters away from people at all times if they're not under your control. Okay, so those are the regulations, and where I am at the moment, that's no problem whatsoever. However, I have noticed that there is a class of school children over here by the lightship, so I'm going to make sure I stay out of their way. And there's also some buildings this way, but most of my stuff is done on the coast. So, that being said, let's show you how to work the drone, and then we'll set it up, and I'll give you some reasons why you, as a photographer, should buy one. And by the way, if your partner is saying to you, please don't get one, show them this. So, DJI drone, very simple. Two propeller, I've just changed the propellers on here to make sure they're safe. Okay, so it flies straight, unfold the front arms, unfold the back legs, which is kind of awkward when you first do it. I don't keep a lens on the gimbal because I keep it very safe. Battery, just two hands there, and it unclips. I have the Fly More kit, that one's going to be running out pretty much. I've got the Fly More kit, so I've got 3 batteries for this. To turn it on, you press it and you hold it, and it's on. The smart controller I'm going to use with it, you just hold it and it turns on. They then connect. Sometimes, as you'll see me doing here in the Lake District, you have to do what's called the drone dance, because it will say the compass needs resetting. And it's important to do that, because if you do that, your drone, with its GPS system, knows exactly where you are to the meter, pretty much. The only thing you have to be aware of is strong wind. If you've flown your drone with the wind, and now you're getting to the limits of its battery, and you're trying to fly it back, it might struggle. So that's the only time where you've got to be careful. It normally takes that into account. They're pretty good. And I have my battery warning level set slightly higher than I recommended, so I know that I'm perfectly safe. It's got sensors on the bottom. Here, it's got sensors on the front here, and it's got sensors on the side here. The only place it hasn't got sensors is going upwards. So you should always check above you. There's nothing here, so am I going to be fine. So first thing we need to do is to take off. Now it's very important not to panic with these. Okay, if you let go with them, if they're on GPS, and this will, if I let go of all the sticks, it will just stop. Okay, and that's really important to remember. So if you get stuck, just let go of everything and it will stop. If I get injured, or have a heart attack, or fall over and break my leg in the next 10 minutes, this drone will automatically find its way back to me and land itself once it runs out of battery, or when it's getting close to running out of battery. But the most important thing for that is, let me just show you on here. Go back to if I show you my screen now. So if you see at the top, we've got, where it says position, there are 13, there's a satellite and 13. Now as long as you've got 10 or more, that means that your drone is going to find its position. Now a lot of people have problems when they take off without checking that that's the case. Okay, so I'm going to pull both sticks downwards and inwards, and I'm just going to take off. And I'm just going to hover there, because I don't want to lose this drone, particularly in the water. Right, no, so forward. And now I'm going to get a nice picture here. Now, one of the reasons you should get a drone is so you can do things like this. Now, I always get this fence in, as you've probably seen in some of my previous videos, but without getting some waders out, what I can do is I can get the drone in exact position. Now, I have to be very careful. I don't want to land it in the water. It will try not to, that's why it's beeping at me. But I can shoot that picture there, which I could only really get if I had waders on, which I haven't. Right, let's go up then. The other reason you should get a drone, maybe, is because you can go really high. Now I don't mind climbing, I'm not adverse to climbing, but there's no mountain here in front of these Langdale Mountains for me to climb. So by going out high, I can now get, as you can see, some awesome footage of, let's just record that, of the Langdales. Now the only place I could do that otherwise would be in a helicopter, and I can't afford one of those. So that's the maximum height, and now with this drone in position, just come out of there, I can now shoot a wonderful image of the Langdales, side pike, pike oblisco, which I wouldn't otherwise be able to shoot. And this is the stuff that you can do. So as well as going forward and back, as you can with a tripod, with a drone, you also go up and down. It's like having a huge, great tripod.
Maximum flight altitude reached.
That you can go over, and this is going to hit the mountain, I think so.
And here's one of the resulting pictures. The camera shoots in RAW and JPEG, and this is just a straightforward JPEG that I've taken out of the camera. And this is what I call a point of view picture, straightforward shot. And this is reason number 4 why you should buy a drone. And this is called a top down picture, looking straight down at what's below you. You discover a whole new world. Now the camera has various settings, so we have straightforward auto, aperture priority, shutter speed priority, manual. You can adjust the ISO and the aperture and the shutter speed in some of those formats, and right at the bottom we've got EV, which is obviously stands for exposure value, so you can just use that to override the automatic settings, which I tend to have it on most of the time. Different photo options, single shot, as what it says, HDR, hyperlight if you're working in dark and gloomy light, which I often am at sunrise. Burst mode, you can shoot up to 5 pictures like a motor drive. Automatic exposure bracketing 3 or 5, I use that quite a lot and blend them rather than the HDR mode. You'll get interval shooting, and also it does panoramics. So these top down pictures, you can often just find an interesting place, point the camera straight down, and you'll be amazed what you can discover. This is, as you can see, at 74 meters high. Just moving the camera around, or the drone around, to see if I can see anything interesting that works well from the top. And you can discover things that you didn't expect to find. If you have a look at these pictures now, I'll show you what I mean.
So here's the light ship. Just going to move around. So we've now got the little village and the rest of the estuary behind. Now that's 400 metres away. It's not annoying anybody, but I appreciate that sometimes people don't like drones. They don't like the buzz of them. But when it's this high and the new drones are a lot quieter, then I don't think it's a problem. And also there's this button here, which is the turn to home and land button. So if I now slide that there, This drone is now, without any hands from me, look. In fact, I'm going to lay it down in my box. I've laid that down in my camera bag, no hands, and my drone is now going to come and land exactly where it took off from. Here she comes. Time for a cup of tea. There she is. Hi. And there you go. No hands whatsoever. So there you go. There's loads of reasons why you should buy a drone. I absolutely love these little guys. I've been photographing with a drone for many years now. And at one time I was photographing with the drone more than a real camera. So you should definitely get yourself one. If you need any advice or anything, send me an email, drop me a line, leave a comment underneath and I'll get back to you. So thanks ever so much for tuning in. At some point I think I'm going to do a vlog where I'm just going to use a drone. Just going to go out with the drone and the controller and see what I can capture. So thanks ever so much for tuning in and I will see you next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Ta-ta for now. Here are the images from today.